If you want to really see something that's said, take a look at what happened. If you want to really see something that's said, take a look at what happened.
Welcome everyone to the Wake Up Call channel. What you just saw is exactly what you've been programmed into accepting as reality, which is the fake assassination attempt of Donald Trump. And I say fake, I emphasize the word fake, because if they wanted Donald Trump dead, they could have taken Donald Trump out a long time ago. Everything they're doing from a psychological standpoint with Donald Trump is gaining more support for Donald Trump. It is making people fall in love with Donald Trump more, and the other side hate Donald Trump even more. And if you're psychologically invested in this game that they're playing, then you're falling for it hook, line, and sinker. That assassination attempt has been programmed into us for years. And anybody who's been following my channel for a while, I've been showing you this even as recently as the last week. We talked about the Supreme Court and how the articles out there were talking about how Joe Biden can now legally assassinate Donald Trump. And that's exactly the narrative they want out there. So let's start with this photograph on the screen, because you're going to see this photograph on a day in, day out basis for the rest of your life probably. This staged picture is the picture that is going viral, that everybody's talking about, that is getting MAGA's blood boiling and getting them all fired up to win this election. And that's exactly like I just mentioned, when the rug is pulled out from underneath them and they decide, hey, they tried to take this man's life, then they rigged the election so he couldn't be president. He must be doing something right. He must really be exposing these people. Everybody will fight for this man and buy into this absolute government psyop, hook, line, and sinker. This photo is the one you're going to see over and over and over again. And guess what? It's a staged photograph. Here's Donald Trump after getting nicked in the ear on stage. Here he is telling everybody to wait, because this is how people naturally respond, right? When they're shot in the ear, they want to wait and take a photograph immediately after because, you know, he's a businessman. He's business savvy. I don't know how they could even possibly spin this in the next couple of hours and days with Donald Trump after being shot, getting up and then telling the Secret Service to wait, to stand still because he wants to pose for a photograph. Is he business savvy? Or, of course, is this a photograph that is needed to entice this left-right divide even more? Donald Trump, if they were going to take him out, would be out. Look at this clip of him telling them to stop and wait. So he's telling them that he needs to pose for this photo. Because again, that's how anybody would naturally respond, right? If they were shot, if they had children, if they had, whatever. I mean, any normal person, if they were shot, wouldn't, immediately be like, hey, wait, I want to take a photograph so I can put on my Instagram or my Twitter. This is exactly the psychosis that we're living in, what we're watching. They can do stuff like this and act it out in real time. And people are so caught up in this theatrical display that they think that it's real. They don't realize that they've been programmed into accepting this Trump assassination attempt for quite some time. And the other thing, before I go into the predictive programming and the stories that are out there in regards to what just happened with Donald Trump, don't forget about Revelation chapter 13, verse 3, right? For anybody out there that doesn't know, Donald Trump just got shot in the head. His ear was nicked. Revelation chapter 13, verse 3, in regards to whom? In regards to the Antichrist. What does it say? Quote, and I saw that one of his heads was, as it were, wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed, and all the world wondered after the beast. Well, I'm not saying that Donald Trump is the Antichrist, and ironically, this is occurring while I'm working on a video about Barron Trump that everybody should want to see that I will put out in the coming days. Donald Trump is a very likely candidate for Antichrist, and the fact that he just got a head wound that looks pretty serious in his ear at least, and people out there are going crazy. If you look at all the stuff that's going viral, you see conservatives out there who are saying they missed. We love Trump even more. He's so right that they're trying to kill him. He is going to do everything to save us because they want him dead so bad. And then, of course, what's the other side saying? I can't believe they missed. That's how psychotic this psychosis has gotten. Where the other side is openly saying that they wish that he was shot and killed. They don't even know these people. They don't know them. And this is how invested they are in these people who are billionaires who are colluding together. Everybody out there thinks there's a conspiracy going on, but Donald Trump's not a part of it. That all these billionaires are just turning on Donald Trump because they can't victimize him like this out in the open. They can't attempt to kill him. All this does is gain more support. So when people like me and you try to expose the left-right paradigm, the people out there won't be able to get past this stuff. Remember, when I talk about false flags, and we talk about these events that happen at schools, these shootings, the alt-right media never brings up the notion that they're fake events, do they? Of course not. They bring up the notion of, well, they only want to release the information if the person is, anti-woke, if it's a Christian, but if it's somebody else, they won't release the information about how they're trans. That's all they talk about. They never talk about these events being staged because they don't want your mind to start thinking about these things being fake, that the news is fake, that they act this stuff out. They're actors. These are literally people like Donald Trump, who was an actor, who was in movies like Home Alone 2, fine, playing himself. He was acting in his reality show, The Apprentice. And now you're seeing them act it out in front of you in politics, which is what we once called political theater, which is now supposedly our day-to-day norm. Watching these two characters, one being senile and the other being quote-unquote criminal. Now, the people out there who think that we're nuts for saying that this stuff is fake, they'll look to something like this and say, if it's fake, look, he's going to court. They're trying to sue him. And we say, well, that's a circus trial. It's not a real trial. It's just for show. And they go, oh, come on, that's not real. Well, now with this, they'll never believe that he's one of them. Think about what this does in their mind to think that this stuff is all real. As if they couldn't just deliberately nick his ear like that. I mean, these people, black ops, okay, could hit a dime across a football field with a sniper rifle. It looks like they clearly used a small type of pellet gun or something along those lines. And we'll see how this story develops. This is me covering it as it's breaking. But if they wanted him gone, he'd be gone. This garners, builds, and gains more support for Donald Trump, period, from conservatives. This pulls people further away from the notion of them working together because they would never be able to grasp that they would work together and fake things like this. It's too much for them to grasp. Just like a lot of the stuff that we see with the fake news, like the shootings at these schools, is too much for them to grasp. And that's a huge problem for us to overcome in waking people up. What I'm seeing from everything out there is more people supporting this, but these people don't even realize, and when I say supporting this, supporting Trump. People don't realize 5 minutes, right after this happens, Elon Musk, I fully endorse President Trump and hope for his rapid recovery. Of course, he's playing the role of a conservative billionaire, because some of these guys have to play the role of conservative billionaire because they still need you on board with New World Order agendas like technology, like artificial intelligence, right? Like the Neuralink. They still need you on board, so they have to have guys playing both sides of the aisle, right? Otherwise, there'd be a mutiny. Otherwise, there would be, no pun intended, an actual uprising. So the other thing I want to show you real quick is the predictive programming that I've mentioned. Okay? Don't forget about the predictive programming. I've shown you a bunch of clips. We've had Johnny Depp talking about, when's the last time an actor assassinated a president? I showed you the Nutcracker this past year where they showed Donald Trump portrayed as the king, okay, in the Nutcracker. They was literally, the Mouse King was Donald Trump. And they had him get assassinated right in front of that picture of Abraham Lincoln, right? Another president who was assassinated. The comparisons with Trump and Lincoln, we hear on a day in, day out basis, right? About the Civil War and about the assassination. They show us these pictures of Trump looking back at Abe Lincoln, standing in front of the picture of Abe Lincoln. Of course, we've seen the Kathy Griffin photo. We've seen Snoop Dogg. Here's just some of the clips, of course, Tucker Carlson, where they planted seeds in your head of a Trump assassination. And now they've moved forward with the real first attempt on Trump's life.
Images is violence. Are you worried that they're going to try and kill you? Why wouldn't they try and kill you?
They're savage animals. They are people that are sick.
Latest on that alleged plan to assassinate Donald Trump.
Johnny Depp on stage at a music festival in the UK when, apparently speaking in jest, he referred to assassinating President Trump. When Depp brings up President Trump's name, the audience cheers.
I think he needs help. I don't know. A lot of wonderful dark places he could go.
Then Depp said this.
By the way, this is going to be in the press. It'll be horrible. When was the last time an actor assassinated a president?
Thank you, Amy. I'm just gonna head on over here.
Yes, I'm angry. Yes, I am outraged. Yes, I have thought an awful lot about blowing up the White House.
It's an actor dressed to look just like President Donald Trump as he's assassinated on stage. Look as his character is stabbed to death. And there's no mistaking the Trump connection. Check out the unbuttoned overcoat and red tie that hangs over his waist. It's a staging of Shakespeare's Julius Caesar that is outraging many. It all comes on the heels of that outrageous image of Kathy Griffin holding the severed head made to look like Trump. She cried during a news conference where she was both defiant and apologetic.
That apology absolutely stands. I feel horrible.
As the cast took its bow, the audience applauded with a standing ovation.
I think that they are green-lighting assassination.
Right, not to mention, of course, the scene from the film where Trump's character is based off of the character in Dead Zone. That's the character that Trump is playing, okay? Trump is playing the character that Martin Sheen plays in the Dead Zone. It's based off of that character, right? Written by Stephen King, of course, who is very invested in this left-right paradigm and hurting people politically like the deviant that he is. Don't forget that in that film, Trump was the character that Martin Sheen played, and of course, what happened to him? Well, there was an assassination attempt on his life as well.
Better shape in this country. What the hell is happening to this country? Anybody tell me what the hell is going on? Papers right here on the front
Believe this
page.
guy? He's just getting warmed up. You vote for him, John? And vote against this turkey. He's dangerous. A real man of the people. That's what it acts. Can't they see through this guy?
I'm challenging you right here and now to join me, to join a growing army.
Do it, General. You're insane.
Do it. You're not the voice of the people. I am the voice of the people. The people speak through me, not you. Do it.
Complete the sequence, Mr. President.
Not necessary, Mr. President. We have a diplomatic solution.
The missiles are flying.
The most exciting, the most important case.
Johnny!
So this story, again, don't forget about the head wound, and we'll see what develops in regards to who the shooter is, because that's gonna be the funniest part of this, right? Who is the person to gaslight the conservatives that they show us was the one that made the attempt, right? Is it going to be some blue-haired person? Is it going to be somebody who identifies as the opposite gender to gaslight the conservatives more? Or is it going to be an illegal alien? Somebody who wanted to put up it's going to be along those lines, I'm sure. And of course, we know that it'll be a person who is likely a Manchurian candidate who was put out there to deliberately miss, okay? Deliberately miss. They could deliberately miss like that. People don't realize how on point these black ops trained, Manchurian black soldiers, super soldiers actually are. They wouldn't miss unless they wanted to miss. He was a sitting duck standing on stage. Not to mention the amount of security that they have, how difficult it would be for somebody to be in one of these events of the year 2024 armed. Okay? They're going to give us a bogus story, and people will believe the story, and they'll be programmed into believing the story, just like all the stuff that happened in Israel. When we all talked about how it wasn't possible for, Hamas to go into Israel and do that unless they were working together. And of course, they had to come out and give you a story of how they did it, and the story didn't make sense, and the people still believed it. They'll believe whatever they're told, even the ones who claim to be red-pilled who aren't. So the stories that are out there right now, possible shots were fired at Trump's rally In Pennsylvania on Saturday, reporters heard numerous shots and Secret Service rushed the stage. Video captured by CBS shows Trump touching his ear, as you all saw, then crouching to the ground. Some blood could be seen on his face. Trump was taken away in a motorcade. He held up a fist as he got into his SUV, which clearly shows us that he's fine, right? But people out there are, all the stuff that's trending, prayers for Trump. That photograph that I showed you earlier is going to be a big rallying cry type of photo. And they need you emotionally invested in this production that they're putting on, because it doesn't work if you're not invested. It doesn't work if you go, I don't care who wins the election. In fact, I'm not even going to vote. I don't care what happens. People have never been more invested in an election, and they're making you invested in it because they're going to blame you for the sabotage that they're about to create on November 5th. And think about what I've been talking about with them pulling the rug out from underneath you and telling you with all this stuff, and now more of the admiration that Trump is going to get. Oh, the deep state's trying to kill him, or people are going to go and vote. And then they're going to tell you that somehow a 90-year-old senile man won. No one's going to believe it. No one's going to believe it. It's going to be perfect. It is going to be perfect because this will be the man that is able to move people into conservative states. Okay? Liberals aren't going to leave their states to go follow Joe Biden, but they will leave their states to get away from Donald Trump. Donald Trump is the key to all of this. Whether they put him in or not, there is going to be mass chaos on November 5th. And this is going to get this thing even more ignited, unlike anything we've ever seen. So the White House said that Biden has received an initial briefing on the incident. Now, this is something I'm going to be covering heavily as stuff is released. So stay tuned to the channel and the website for more information. Some stuff I'll probably have to just put up on the website, which is uprisinglives.com. You can go sign up there and get an email so you can learn of the real actual website. But there's going to be stuff that they censor. Remember, when these events occur, we all know how they work, right? When these events occur, what do they do? What do? They start censoring big time. Because if people start exposing this as not real, which we all do, right? You've seen all these events, these shootings occur at schools and stuff. And what ends up happening? If you expose them as actors, if you expose it as not real, you get wiped off. If you play into it and talk about the news as if it's real, you get left alone. So they're going to expect the narrative. People are going to be allowed to talk about it. And you'll say, well, why can they talk about it, but this guy can't? Well, people out there are talking about it like it's real. They're allowed to talk about it. If they keep you in the left, right, they're allowed to talk about it. So when the Daily Wire and Ben Shapiro and these guys come out and they talk about, oh my gosh, this is how bad it's gotten, that the libs, they know they can't win the election, so they're trying to kill Donald Trump. And they're just going to be gaslighting and working the audience even heavier than they ever have. And they want that narrative out there. But if you break these things down and you show these things to be fake, if you show the predictive programming with how many times they planted the seed of an assassination, how many times? Hundreds? Hundreds. They even did the play, as you saw, where they had Trump assassinated in a play. They've been telling us about this. And everybody's been waiting for this who's awake. It doesn't matter that he's alive still. Just the attempt in itself is huge. It is huge. Because this changes a lot of things out there. Because now we look at people who are going to be unhinged more than they've ever been, that they would dare take out their candidate. They're going to care more. They're going to believe in Trump even more. And any stuff that they've heard that may have gotten them to think that the left, right are working together, that Trump, one of them, it's all forgotten about now, because they would never think that they could stage these types of events. But they're fully staged, and it's very easy for them to stage it. It's actually harder for this to really happen. If you think about it, it would be harder for somebody to go in there and bring a gun in, get it in there and get shots off and actually get so close to his head and miss. It's laughable. It would be easier to fake it than to actually execute it with the way security is now, especially around these people. You couldn't get within. They want you to think that you can get close to these people. I'm sure you've seen some interviews on golf courses with Trump. Those are all staged. Nobody's getting near any of these people. No one's getting near Bill Gates. Nobody's getting near Claus. Nobody's getting near Bezos, any of these guys. They're nowhere to be seen around the public because they know they're under a lot of scrutiny. Trump as well. So nobody's getting close to an assassination attempt on Trump unless the government is involved in it. And people will go, well, the government is involved. They did want him dead. They wouldn't have missed. And they wouldn't have needed to do it on a stage. They could have done it in the night. They could do it in a car. They could Princess Diana. There's so many ways that they could do it. This right here is theater. And Trump saying, wait, because he wanted to take a picture, should be enough for people to wake up. But most people out there are going to say, don't listen to this guy. Don't listen to that. They want him dead because they want to believe that someone's going to stop this nightmare that's occurring in front of us. this communist democratic nightmare, this hell that we're witnessing, the things they're trying to do in the schools. And Trump's the perfect guy because he says the things that everybody out there thinks. But this right here is a staged attempt. I've been talking about it for years. Here's your first real attempt. We've seen people bull rush the stage before and tackle Trump, or come close to tackling Trump, I should say, where he's taken off. This is the first time we've seen blood. And this is very crucial. Let's watch how this plays out. I'll be covering it more and more. I thank everybody for being here. Hope you're all well. God bless you and your families, as always.